disruptive hero, and I'm overjoyed. And my day job is to run a creative consultancy, but my aspiration is to teach visual literacy to disruptive types around the world. I'm the leader of the Doodle Revolution, actually. Someone who I want to have contact with, and I will, because I dedicated the next book to him, is Jeffrey Canada. He is a man who started what's called the Harlem Children's Zone. He's essentially an educational pioneer. And that sounds really kind of, so he's a teacher, but it's not that. It's that it is absolutely phenomenal what this man has been able to do and how much passion and fire is required to do what he's done. There's a book about him called Whatever It Takes. And it's essentially, he was looking at the really corrosive conditions in Harlem for a long majority of that part of the country's and the city's history, and noticing that the outcomes for the children that grew up in that area are not, they're less than optimal, if not outright tragic. That's my dog. My dog.
Are you going to at least introduce him?
I know. I'm like, Simon, do you want to come in here? He's outside. I may have to get up at some point and let him in, just FYI. And so ultimately what Jeffrey did, like really against all odds, is he started looking at, okay, so how does education occur? How does learning occur? How does behavioral changes occur? Because if you can't function behaviorally, you can't learn anything. And I know that from experience because I grew up in a pretty crappy part of Texas. And so what he did was kind of start reverse engineering the process of making it possible to learn something, even despite the circumstances around you. And he's been doing this for 30 years, and he's taken it all the way to prenatal education. Any children born in that space are inside of his social safety net, where they, from birth till they graduate college, are taken care of educationally and nutritionally and emotionally and psychologically. I mean, it's like this man, if there was a Jesus figure, it's Jeffrey Canada.
So that was someone you hoped to meet. Who in your life has influenced you personally?
So I have a Zen teacher, and his name is Flint Sparks. Flint is an incredible man, and he's a Buddhist priest, but he's also a clinical psychologist. And he's also just kind of a brainiac. He's interested in neurology, which probably will segue into the other questions. So I've been working with him for a few years, and I've learned an extraordinary amount of sort of personal leadership and really compassion and courage and how to align to your aspiration from this man and from the practices that so it's not like woo-woo. It's very like practical applications of how to become sort of more connected with others and more connected with yourself in a healthy way. And I think if you're talking about disruptions, that's one of the most profound ways that you can disrupt somebody's life is by helping them transform it into a positive force, And he's done that for me unquestionably. Unlock the power to think differently piece, that's the big piece. And so Jeffrey Canada has influenced that because I always wanted to do, and I hope that this is in my future, some kind of social experiment where you take, and it's a model on his work, and so I'm going to do a lot more research on how he actually did it, but I want to do a social experiment where you take what I would refer to as visually illiterate people who have no sophistication or awareness or knowledge of how to think visually and how to play with games in terms of thinking, and then transform the way that they learn through that vehicle, right? And I would love to do it on a scale. I mean, the scale that Jeffrey did it on is crazy. I don't think that's in my cards, but I think that I could, and I will, take the curriculum that I've been designing and developing and prototyping and practicing with all kinds of people around the world and apply it to educational circumstances to see how it changes how they learn and think. And so that's how Jeffrey influenced it, because when I saw how big he had done it, I was like, oh, wow, So if he can do it at that scale, I can certainly do it at another micro scale. And then Flint has changed my life. I also dedicated the book to Flint. So how he's changed my life is I think that, and I mean, I get personal real fast. I'm a Texan, so what do you want? But I did not come from a stable background. And so the destabilization of my early years was helpful in many ways because it drives creativity, it drives ambition, it drives compassion for others because you're sort of struggling. So I would never change it. But it also has a dark side, which is that it's very hard to sort of harness energy in a way that is not destructive, and it's hard to do the very high level of aspirational goals, because a lot of you is caught up in just like self maintenance. Like you have to take better care of yourself than would a person who had not been destabilized. So it bleeds a lot of energy off, you know, to have to sort of manage the result of being destabilized. And so Flynn has completely made it possible to liberate a lot of energy that has been sort of fixed or conditioned in like a crappy way, so that I could apply it to creativity and possibility.